NuWellness TV with Dr. Lee. Join your host, the accomplished Dr. Cherilyn Lee, as she welcomes the leading experts in health and well-being as they explore the advancements in natural health, physical fitness, nutrition, integrative medicine, and self-discovery.
Good morning. Now, whatever time of day you happen to be tuned into this wonderful show, I have a guest with me today, and they're all just wonderful. But this gentleman is beyond. He is beyond his time, and the things he has done in his lifetime has been amazing. I know we sound like we had a real simple title for the show. Collagen, what is it, and why do you need it? It's very important. And I'm so happy to have Dr. Friedlander here today as my guest. Thank you so much. Dr. Bernd Friedlander. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Having me. I appreciate that. I'm looking forward.
It's a blessing. And, I'm just going to start off a little bit here because our question is, what is collagen? And collagen is the most abundant protein found in our body. Connective tissue, and our skin, our cartilage, tendons and bones, and all the spinal cord, digestive system, tendon, all of the extracellular, builds up the extracellular matrix of our body contains collagen. So, I want to kind of get into, why do we need it? We're going to kind of get into that as well. And knowing that collagen is should be a part of our daily diet, and it's an anti-inflammatory, anti-aging, and it repairs and protects and rejuvenates our body. And as we go older, we start to lose a lot of collagen, so we're going to be discussing that. And I also there's so many collagens on the market, and I want to talk about, collagens are not all created equal, so people need to know the difference between the different types of collagens. And there are types of collagens as well, and where they come from. So we're going to be discussing that, especially what's on the market, and also sort of talk about vegan, vegetarian, can they really obtain a good source of collagen? Because a lot of times people come to me and they're like, I don't want to do anything that's not vegan or vegetarian related. So we're going to discuss that as why. So Dr. Friedlander, I want you to just give people a little brief overview of who you are and why did you get into this field? I mean, why did you even go into medicine?
Well, let me go back. In early 70s, I got into physical therapy as an assistant, and I started treating patients with all types of structural problems and muscular problems, and I ended up working with some elite people like Paul Getting, the Kennedys, etc. And so I built a great foundation from that. And it wasn't until I met a gentleman as one of my clients who came in for therapy, and he was a nutritionist. Formerly, he was a wrestler, professional wrestler, who got into nutrition and developed the first health food store in the Bay Area. And he started developing an interest in my work and who I am. And he taught me a lot about nutrition, the science of nutrition. So in the early 70s, I got into looking at B complex and amino acids and white bread and glutens, and way before anyone else knew about this. So I started developing an interest and desire to learn more. And he took me on and taught me so much about vitamins and minerals and B complex that I started developing a sort of an interest in myself, but for my patients and how to utilize it. From there, I ended up getting a chiropractic degree in Los Angeles after I graduated from San Francisco State in 1981 with exercise physiology and a minor in physical therapy, that I ended up working while going to school with UCLA with the track team. I ran track in college, so I knew a little bit about track, and I also played semi-professional soccer, so I knew a little bit about the sports, and I took on a lot of the other sports like gymnastics. I also, swam in college and etc. So I developed a background in physical therapy, and while becoming a chiropractor, I was asked by UCLA coaches to train and work with the athletes there and get them ready for the 80, 84, and 88 Olympics. And that's what started me on another project, not only training them, but looking at alternative to steroids. And that was my primary research there, was looking at developing a alternative to steroid program for athletes for recovery, performance, etc. And I utilize a whole wide range of nutrients and dietary goals. While I was in working with UCLA, I also developed an interest with a client of mine who was a patient of mine. After I graduated from chiropractic school, I opened up my own office, and I also continued developing my sports nutrition program at UCLA. And I ended up working with Roy Wolford in caloric restriction diet and looking at the mechanisms of how that works and why it's beneficial for us. In animal studies, it shows it promotes longevity.
Yes.
But in humans, we haven't really shown that. So my desire was to look at in the human aspect, not in vitro vivo, which is animal studies, is to look at what in vivo studies. And I worked in '84. I developed, working with the Olympics. I had so many athletes that got medals, gold medals, silver, bronze. And from there, I also developed a relationship working with the Los Angeles Raiders and Rams. One of my athletes that I trained for the Olympics actually got selected by the Rams. And so I ended up developing a relationship with the Rams. And then one of the coaches at UCLA who worked with me in the sprint coaching got a job with the Raiders teaching them sprinting, and he brought Howie Long and a number of other athletes to my office, and that developed a relationship with the Raiders, and they were so amazed with the results that they had with me through their ailments and disc problems and fatigue and recovery. So I designed a program for them. And then I started working with Knox Gelatin, the joint formula, when I heard from an orthopedic doctor that he himself was a semi-professional football player that was drafted by the NFL, but never made it because he had disc herniation when he was in high school and developed when he was in college. So it took him out of the professional possibility of being an NFL player. So he became an orthopedic doctor, worked with many professional teams like the Raiders. And he and I discussed about nutrition and recovery. And he told me a story which amazed me, where he took Knox Gelatin, which is a form of collagen, not hydrolyzed, and he started taking it 3 times a day with calcium, vitamin C. And in about a year later, he totally recovered his injury. He had no surgery was needed. And so I looked into that and I said, these are the perfect amino acids, lysine, proline, and glycine and alanine, which are essential for not only many aspects of performance, but recovery. And then I studied collagen by looking at where did we develop collagen from? How did collagen develop in our body?
Yes.
It was the first material that the spinal cord was made out of. It's called a notochord. Without this collagen, the spinal cord could not have been developed. And from there, we have peripheral nerves and muscles and blood flow developing from the spinal cord.
Exactly.
And then I started realizing the mechanism of collagen in the 80s before anybody even looked into it, because of my work with Knox Gelatin and the results I had with my athletes. So I started realizing that if I started applying collagen or gelatin or anything like that to my patients and my athletes, the response was incredible. The recovery was incredible. And then I realized there was much more to it. Ligaments, tendons, cartilage, skin is derived from collagen. And as we get older, we start losing it. And
Yes, we do.
we are giving up the nutrition. We are giving up the foods that contain collagen. The Asian world population consumes tremendous amount of collagen through knuckles and cartilage and heads and all these um, items that we don't need. We're very
Exactly.
lean. We try to look at the lean aspect of meats and chickens and all that, which are the worst foods in our diet. We should look at what produces collagen in our body. Look at the foods like lamb shank, anything with cartilage. With gelatin, chicken, the whole bone. That's where
Bone
bone
broth
broth, and
soups. Uh-huh.
all of that, beef broth and chicken broth, all developed from.
Since you
And the
brought that up
stock.
real quick, what is your take on bone broth soups?
I think they're excellent. There was a study done back in the 1900s by two doctors, one named Butt and the other one Fiore. They were English and French doctors, and they were dealing with diabetes because diabetes started because of our agricultural industry. When
Oh,
we introduced
yes.
grains into our diet, that was the cascade for every disease we know of today.
It certainly
It was
was.
10,000 years ago, and it was developed by the farming industry that started in Turkey and Afghanistan. We started the agricultural industry by civilization, and the decay of the human population started to occur. The reason is because we gave up proteins, non-inflammatory proteins such as collagen.
Yes.
And so going back to bone broth and all that, there were two doctors in the 1900s from France and England that were dealing with with not cancer but diabetic patients.
Right.
And I read their study, and guess what? They reversed every single diabetic patient out there by supplying them what's called colloids. Colloids are collagen peptides. They come from bone broth, bone broth, or any bone broth soups. They were also using that as part of their remedy and increasing honey. And people think sugar is the cause of diabetes. No, it's the grains, the phytic
Yes.
acid, the phosphorus levels increasing in our diet that's causing all these disease. I have given more of my patients honey and cane sugar and natural sugars to reverse diabetes and cancer because the body needs that for fuel, for energy, for mitochondria. So they were using bone broth as part of their treatment for diabetes, and the results were always 100%. So bone broth is very, very promising. It's very nutritional. It's very supporting for
It
the immune
certainly is.
system, but also for the gut, the
It,
lining of the gut.
yes. My daughter, Siobhan Cameron, who is a clinical nutritionist, she has her master's, and she's like a chef. So she prepares the bone broth soups. It's so gelatinous when she makes it. I mean, she's passionate in cooking. You would love it. Next time you're in town, I'll have her make you some. But
Good.
she makes curry flavors, all these different flavors, and they're delicious. But all of my patients, she prepares it for the patients. So people she had orders like galore because of the fact people were turning around and healing a lot faster. Even myself, with this environment, I caught some little something bug one night, and she brought me some. And I'm telling you, the next morning I felt absolutely wonderful.
I agree.
And
You know,
now they're trying to put it in containers and sell it, and tell you to mix water with it. And I say, you've got to, you got to take the time and spend those hours in preparing this bone broth soup. You're not going to get the gelatinous from this by buying it in a container.
I agree. The benefits is for those who can't in a rush, with the daily stresses of living and having kids.
Hmm.
You're still going to get the benefits by taking it, and the benefits also by taking collagen orally.
Oh,
And
definitely the
I came
collagen.
out with collagen supplements back in the late 80s, early 90s, before the industry ever knew about it. And a lot of the big companies today took a lot of that information from my research, and I wrote a book with a guy named Dr. Stephen Holderwanger. And Holderwanger and I put together over the publication and my ideas of how collagen works and how it promotes health and immune system. And really, people don't realize our bones are crucial.
Yes, they
They
are.
they harbor the immune system.
Yes, they
And
do.
the number one problem we see today is with athletes of any age is a loss of cartilage and bone and arthritis and meniscus damage, cartilage damage from all this overabundance of exercise, and the wear and tear is greater than the recovery because the recovery they don't have the material to repair the body.
Right. And you
And the
know what?
simple material is collagen. That's
Right.
the starting basis
And you know
besides
what?
calcium.
I don't mean to cut you off, but just for a
Yeah.
moment, I was working part time in a certain community. I'm not going to even say where because people probably identify exactly the doctors who did this. So they were doing hip replacement surgery, knee replacement surgeries like crazy every day. And sometimes they wouldn't even just do one, they would do bilateral and do them both. So a lot of the seniors now, they're just telling them, come in for a replacement. You're bone on bone. So this is happening a lot to the elderly people, our aging population. And it's because of what? Because of a cartilage. And the
It's the
collagen.
loss of the cartilage, yeah.
And the
Uh,
collagen.
yeah, because we're not consuming enough nutrients that support the repair mechanism. And that's the problem. And and collagen with I developed a new product called Collagen Renewal, which is on Amazon. It has the nutrients that support building of new cartilage and bone and tendons and ligaments. And that is what is needed. You need vitamin D, you need vitamin K, you need calcium, you need magnesium, zinc, B6, niacinamide, all of these things, and glycine. And glycine also supports better sleep. The Japanese have done studies showing that the molecule found in collagen, glycine, supports insomnia and reverses, insomnia and gives you a longer sleep. It brings you into what's called a deep sleep cycle, which
Mm-hmm.
is in the lower delta wavelength, which is zero point 0.5 hertz to 3 hertz or 4 hertz. And that's where your body goes into a deep sleep mode in order to regenerate and repair and
And
make a
definitely
new
repair. We
you.
have to repair.
Yes. And there's
Yes.
nothing better. There's not a pill out there that will have that than sleep.
No, no, you cannot. I had a very dear friend of mine who's a cardiologist. She said, you're taking great products and you're doing some great things and you're exercising. But, sleep is not in a pill. You cannot, you could take something for sleep in a pill, but you have to take your body, put it in the bed. And that was many, many years ago. But look at your skin. Your skin is, you're living proof of what you do and what you sell and what you promote. Your skin is absolutely healthy and it looks good for your age and you're very young.
Yeah. Well, like I said, since the 70s, I started looking at, nutritional support. And I started eating right and looking at all the nutrients that are supporting the body. And so I've been doing this all my life, and I exercise correctly. I don't do an enormous amount of exercise anymore. I maintain core exercise, which is, TRX and push-ups, and I do headstand push-ups because that's something I learned when I was in college doing gymnastics period, and I maintain that because I feel if you use your own body's resistance and your own body's mechanism to work out, I think it's a lot better and less stressful than all the other ways of training today. And
Right.
I think today we're overtraining and not realizing the importance of flexibility. And that is very important. And when I worked with the Raiders, Rams, Lakers, Clippers, San Diego Chargers, I implemented stretching, flexibility, and relaxation techniques so that
Yes.
they can recover faster. And I took them away from the grains and the pastas and the breads,
Yes.
and I added more non-inflammatory collagen proteins like lamb shank and anything from the wings of the chicken are better for you. Things like oysters and shellfish have some components of nutrients that are important, and chicken where you use the whole bone of the chicken, and you cook that. But we got to get back to that,
Yeah.
and
And it,
we're
if
eating the
people,
wrong foods today, and
right.
it's not supporting us.
No, it isn't. And what people know, so there's at least 80 to 90% of our collagen from the body, it consists of type 1, type 2, and type 3. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes, type 1 and type 2 is predominantly what you're seeing in chicken cartilage, which is predominantly sold out there, which is okay. All the collagen out there have benefits. What I did in my collagen is a little bit different, so that's the only difference. But you want to have type 1 and 3, which gives you, again, and type 2. One is works more on the skin and the joint and the cartilage and the bone. And the other one works for hyaluronic acid. Okay, so like chicken cartilage has hyaluronic acid, but the amount of hyaluronic acid found in chicken or any cartilage is very little, and it's not gets absorbed at all in the body
Right.
because of the
Exactly.
digestive breakdown in the hydrochloric acid.
Right.
So it is better to, people are getting hyaluronic acid injections. That works a lot better. Or they get it topically, where you drive a cream, a liposomal cream, into the area. You're getting better results with that. Or just eat foods that are very high in hyaluronic acid,
Right.
and that's the skin. Nobody eats the chicken skin anymore, and that's where hyaluronic acid is. And there's other foods out there, and fruits and vegetables. So basically, the reason I don't like chicken for myself, why I did not go into it 20, 30 years ago, is because chickens are not raised naturally. They're
Exactly.
controlled in cages, and they're fed corn and soy. And corn and soy increases fat and reduces
And
mitochondria
inflammation.
function and
Right.
reduces thyroid function. That is the problem with grains. And it's high in phosphorus, which takes bone calcium out of the bone. The collagen I look at is companies that can provide me a prolytic enzyme that they manufacture the collagen with, not a sulfuric acid, which is 99.9% done, and which is good. And we use a low sulfuric acid in our process too, but we also look at other enzymatic process. But I want animals that are pasture raised
Most
and
definitely.
grass fed,
And grass
predominantly
finished.
99% grass fed.
And finished. Grass fed and
And,
grass finished.
and that is what I use in my products. I stay away from anything that is caged, that is fed soy and corn
Definitely.
and other grains. If it's fed alfalfa, that's fine. That's what I look for. Companies that do that, cattle places that feed, alfalfa or grasses. That's fine
Right.
because
So,
that's
what
nutrient
would you
that
tell a
they,
person? What would you tell a
yeah.
person going to? Quite frankly, I love your collagen. I've been knowing you for years, and we've had it on our shelf and working, not just on our shelf. The patients have had it as well for many years and seen wonderful results with it. That's one reason too why my skin doesn't look like to be a grandmother of 10. I don't have skin that portrays that. So it's really important is what we put in on our body on a daily basis. And like I said, even with you have very healthy skin. It isn't like you had a little Botox or touch up there. It's very healthy and not saggy. So those are good indications to show. Now, if a person is going to go to the store to buy this, now, because a lot of my patients, and we know a lot of people now say, I'm vegan and I'm vegetarian, and they, what can I do as far as collagen? Because I know my daughter, when she made the soup, they were like, well, I don't want anything meat-based, but I want to have the soup. I want to have the bone broth soup. So she made a lot of theirs with fish and used the fish head and used all the bones and had it very gelatinous as well. But for those who doesn't even want fish, do you have a suggestion?
Okay, well, the only suggestion for those are, one of the problems with vegetarian is they're deficient in collagen. There's no doubt about it.
Yes.
So they would have to understand the mechanisms of how to create collagen in their own body. So they need precursors. What I
Yes.
mean is the principles that start producing collagen. The amino acid glycine, alanine, proline, and lysine, and vitamin C. Very crucial. And then you need the minerals. If you don't have the minerals, copper, zinc, manganese, iron, then you don't have the catalyst for making collagen. And so
Exactly.
if you're going to take it in supplements, you need to know how to take the supplements and the amounts that are necessary. So you need thousands and thousands of grams of lysine and proline a day. You need thousands of vitamin C, and then minimal amounts of zinc and copper and manganese. So all of these things are required as a precursor.
Exactly.
And the other thing that vegetarians are really deficient is B12. And B12 is very important and also in helping promote collagen synthesis. So it also is part of the sympathetic parasympathetic function.
Exactly.
And that's why, so you need things that support, and then collagen supports thyroid function. And so a lot of vegetarians will have thyroid issues.
Oh,
How
yes.
do you determine if you have thyroid issue? How's your sleep? Do you go to sleep right away and sleep deeply for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, deeply, where you may have to get up once, but that's it. You go back, you fall asleep. Do you wake up next day feeling fully energized, ready to go? You don't need your caffeine right away. That's important.
Yeah, I want to say too, I want to just add, when we're looking at, I actually do a lot of B12 injections in my office for the people who are vegetarian for that very reason. But I like to do the micronutrition testing. Sometimes
Yeah.
people feel that, I have everything, I feel great, but it's another level of feeling great and having optimum health. You can feel great until something happened and you crash. But if you have optimum health, your chances of having a better quality of life is going to be much better. So these micronutrition testing I find to be very valuable with people who are vegetarians, so they can see themselves that this is what you need. This is what the body need on a totally different cellular level, along with knowing, we know we're going to add more of the vitamin D and the vitamin K, and we'll talk about the different types of vitamin K, because most people just think I should just go buy vitamin K. But you should at least know your levels. Your vitamin D 25 hydroxy, you should know those levels. And I utilize life extension for the lab, because people listening to the show can actually go on life extension and order their lab work themselves. So they do even have bone testing. They do bone testing through blood tests, through life extension. So a lot of things you can become aware and start being more taking more control of your own health and know what's going on, not to be your own doctor, because sometimes that's not a good thing, but consult with a practitioner to know that you're on the right track. But these are things you really need to know.
I agree with you. It's important to know your nutritional levels. I think the future of medicine is going to be where we can actually measure the intracellular levels of all our cells. Inside, what's the nucleus of the cells deficient in, the mitochondria. We need to find out more what's going on inside the cell than outside, because the blood is a very small portion of what's determining our health. It's not giving
Yes.
us asset to knowing everything. But the future is going to find out that are we deficient in magnesium, calcium? Like you said, vitamin D is very deficient in everybody, because how many of you spend outdoor time? Getting 30 minutes a day between 10 and 2 in the afternoon, just being outdoors. How
Sunbathing.
many work? And most people work indoors. So they're
Yes.
getting artificial lighting, and they're getting EMR from the radiation that's in their Wi-Fi, their computer, their cell phone. So we're going down, we're seeing a decline in our health because of the indoor pollution, and people don't understand that. And that's why since all my life, everything I do was outdoor. I played every sport outdoor. I ran track outdoor. I swam outdoor. I played soccer professionally and in college outdoor. So everything was done outdoors for me. And when I train my athletes, I make sure that we train outdoors, because sunlight is all the nutrients we need, and it stimulates collagen growth too. And
Yes.
people don't realize that.
So, and then the vitamin K. So we have K1, we have K2, we have different levels of K. So people need to know, if you're going to take your vitamin D and you work it on your overall health to stay healthy, because
Yeah.
I have seen in doing bone density tests with people, with them just staying on a great mineral, and it's a certain mineral that I use, along with the K and the D, their demineralization of their bones, and repeated the test in 2.5 months, they no longer had osteo.
Well, absolutely. And K is found in, in grass-fed butter. It's found in grass-fed cheeses, Gouda cheese, things like that. And we're going to see K in kale and parsley, Italian parsley. And when you cook the kale, you can't eat it raw. When you cook the kale, and even the liquid that comes out of the kale, is where the vitamin K is. And we got K1. And if you have a sufficient liver, a strong liver that functions well, K1 can convert to 2 and 4 and 7. But if you don't have a good liver, then you need to access all the Ks. You need to have K4 and K7 because one works more for the heart, the other one works more for the bone. So like you mentioned, life extension, I think they have one that has K1, 2, 4, 7, all of them.
And so yes, they do.
So you want to have the mixture of all the Ks because you want heart protection as well as bone protection.
Exactly. And it's some great stuff, I'm telling you. Once you know, you don't guess. I always say test and don't guess. So if we test and you know for sure what it is your body need, because everybody's different. So we kind of touched a little bit on the mitochondria. So I want to have you kind of dive into that a little bit more now. Thank you.
Okay. The mitochondria,
right.
As you know, if you go 4 billion years ago, an organism, 14 billion years ago, we had the Big Bang, where, gases and hydrogen and oxygen was created. And the Earth, when it was blended right with the right amount of oxygen and hydrogen and nitrogen and CO2 and the temperature and the oceans and all that, the water, there was a bacteria 4 billion years ago developed called the mitochondria. The mitochondria is the house that energizes everything in our cells. It is producing the energy for everything to work, our bodies to function, our brain. Without the mitochondria, we can't have energy or function or repair or regeneration. It promotes stem cells to grow. It does everything for us. So 4 billion years ago, we had this bacteria, and this bacteria encased itself with different extracellular matrix, and that's what predominantly gives us the life force of every living system out there. And it makes energy by making the fuel from burning using oxygen and electrons to break down proteins, fats, carbohydrates.
Yes.
And the end result is electron oxidation of glucose, which gives us ATP, the source of energy. And that is the fuel that we need for everything to work and process, and all our systems work on this one component called mitochondria. And today, every scientific paper is based on mitochondrial function and aging and longevity, and all the anti-aging systems are looking at mitochondria and increasing this component. And it's basically fuels our cells, makes energy, and ATP and CO2 and water, and then and it converts back to an oxidized state, which is very important because cancer and diseases live in a reduced state when they don't have enough electrons to replenish itself to make more energy. So it goes to a different metabolism, which Otto Warburg discusses. It doesn't know how to break down glucose for energy. It utilizes fats and proteins for energy. And then they break the fats and proteins in our body for fuel. And then we start losing that ability to function because we start wasting away.
Right. And it's just amazing. The body is such a complex machine here anyway. And when you have all the components and you look at, I had one person, he used to say you're only as healthy as your cells. Well, I like to say you're only as healthy as your mitochondria. So if your mitochondria is healthy, then the body is going to be healthy there too. Um, kind of, what would be some of the most powerful points? You know, we still have a little bit more time. Of some of the powerful points you will want our listening audience, because I know you have a lot to share. That's why I want to ask you early and not give you like a couple of minutes. So what would you want them to walk away with from this
Well,
interview?
I think the most important thing is, lifestyle. Look at our lifestyle. Positive attitude is such an important aspect. How many times a day do you hug somebody? That's very important. Um,
Hugs are healing.
Remember, we got trillions and trillions of cells in our body, and we have more cells than there's stars in the galaxy in our
Yes.
body. And the gut, the genome of the gut, is very important. So in the morning, get up, look at yourself, say something positive. I feel great. I love myself. And get some light, bright light, because you need to get started with bright light. And so we need to start having a positive attitude. If you have a cat or dog or somebody, give them a big hug, because
Mm-hmm.
that's important.
Yes.
um, and then make sure that you have some protein in the morning. One of the things I notice, people are always tired, fatigued by 2 or 3. I said, what's your diet like? What do you have in the morning? And I just have coffee and I go. I have
Right.
coffee
Right.
and until lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the most important thing is protein in the morning. Something with eggs, over easy, soft boil. I always have a soft boil or over easy egg with my collagen drink. I make a mixture of minerals and vitamin C with collagen. And
Yes.
that's how I start my day. And then I have my coffee with honey. I love honey. I will have as much honey as I can handle in a coffee, not to oversweeten, but to make it sweet. And
Mm-hmm.
then I do my exercises outdoors a little bit. I make sure I get some sunlight throughout the day. I do my core exercises. I then, I think a little lunch in the afternoon with some protein vegetable is very good for you. Don't eat so much salads, because salads ferment in the gut and can cause fermentation processes that are not good for you. And if you eat too much salads, you have bloating, distension. That's not a good thing. And then, make sure you're moving around all day. Don't just sit in front of the computer or in front of your, wherever you're at,
Right.
but get outdoors
Mm-hmm.
every hour and a half. Just go outside, enjoy yourself, do some breathing exercise. We don't breathe enough. Takes, a deep breath through the nose, hold it for 4 seconds, then out 7 seconds, and then, that kind of thing. 4 seconds in, hold it for 7 seconds, then let it go for 8 seconds,
Right.
out.
Exactly.
We don't,
We've
we
done
need to
some
breathe more.
exercises like that before
Yeah.
on the show, which really was wonderful. Just taking your head and doing the exercise and just leaning back as you breathe in with your eyes closed and holding your breath. I'm not going to do it because and
Yeah.
then breathe out and bring your head down. It
Yeah.
really helps the circulation to the spinal fluid to do this
And
type of exercise.
and we want to increase CO2. So CO2 breathing is very important,
Yes.
where you take a deep breath through the nose and let it all out through the nose, and then pinch your nose and hold it as long as you can, 10, 20, 30, 40 seconds, and do that a couple times. And when we have more CO2, we feel more brightness in our brain, and alertness and cognitive, but our energy increases dramatically.
Yes. Yes.
And so the other thing is, make sure when you go to bed, don't eat late at night and don't eat heavy, because cortisol levels go up. And make sure you turn off your Wi-Fi, your telephone.
Hmm.
Do not sleep in a room that has anything that's plugged in. I
Exactly.
turn everything off, and I use my circuit breaker at night so that nothing goes into the room that I sleep in. So for at least 7, 8 hours, I have no interference from Wi-Fi, electromagnetics, any of these things. And that's so crucial. Those aspects of life is quality of life we do every day. Those simple steps we take is so important. Then the supplements and all that come into play, and they work better for you.
Yeah, and I always tell people, we did hit on that as far as loving yourself, but if you're in a toxic relationship, that will interfere with your overall well-being, to be in a toxic relationship. So when people come to me and say, I'm detoxing, I want to know, what are you detoxing? So we got to start first with all those negative thought patterns in the brain, and let's detox all that stuff too, so that we can move into other things and heavy metals and this and that. But you first got to deal with what's going on in your own mind, and how are you holding yourself back from different things by having a toxic mind or living in a toxic relationship. I have an interview with one of my patients who, after coming out of a toxic relationship, it's just no way that a couple IVs, changing his diet, and all the good things we were doing, but he went from stage 3 cancer to no cancer at all. And he was a VA patient who I'm not a big advocate on certain tests, but he had a PET scan and they saw no cancer in just 4 months. But this is after he let go of a toxic relationship as well. And he felt lighter. He felt better. So what goes on in the body is so important, but there's so many elements to it. It isn't just taking the supplement. If you don't believe in what you're taking, when you put it in your mouth, it's not going to work for you probably too much anyway. It'll do some good, but you have to believe too and be very comfortable with the practitioner or the doctor you're working with. But if you don't believe in the person and you don't feel that what they're giving you is going to help you, 9 out of 10, you're not going to get to that optimum level. So you want to be with somebody, too, that you feel comfortable with as well.
I agree with you 100%. I had a patient that I took on 6, 7, 8 months ago who had been having 10 years of lung cancer, and every few months has to go in and get a therapy done, which means surgically removed a little bit, or chemo, or radiation. And I started him, I said, listen, let's work on those aspects. When you get up in the morning, I want you to have a positive attitude. Look in the mirror and say, I love myself. I love everyone around me. Give a big hug to your wife. They had a negative effect to each other. They were angry. They were fighting. I heard that from their neighbors. And then I told them, I want you to get outdoors every day, a few hours every morning, afternoon, and get natural lighting. Then I put them on all these nutrients, vitamin D, vitamin K, calcium, magnesium, collagen. And then I asked them to get a natural heat lamp, infrared heat lamp, a clear one. And I wanted him to get a 250 watts with a socket. And I wanted him to use it 20 minutes in the morning, afternoon, and the evening every day.
No, he's just putting this in the room. He's not putting it toward his body.
He's just putting it in a room and focusing on him 3 times a day. So he gets more natural lighting. I told him to eliminate all the Wi-Fi, EMR in his bedroom. We also put him on BRM 500 and Plasmanex, for the immune system and for increasing blood flow and reducing platelet and clotting and all that.
Exactly.
And today, 8 months to a year later, he's been dealing with cancer every single month. And the doctor says, we don't know how much longer you have. Today, it's almost a year, and he's been free of cancer. The doctors cannot believe it. It was a simplicity factor of getting back into nature and light that started everything.
Yes.
And from there, the positive attitude came on. Now the neighbors in his community says he's the most loving guy that they know of, and his wife and him are getting along. And Charlie is doing so well today. And he's like, everybody says he's like the miracle person here.
Yes, yes.
Because when I saw him, I thought he was, he looked dead. He had no color. He was grayish I've ever seen, had no tonicity. He was losing weight, and he could hardly talk to me and hardly function. Today, he's a different person.
Yes. And it wasn't just going to a practitioner saying, here are these pills, which, we don't want to have the same model as they do in allopathic medicine in the first place. We want to be more, more involved with our patient, more hands-on. So in doing what you did, and also, when a person knows someone care, someone really cares about me and my well-being. That has a lot to do with it as well.
Absolutely.
And that's what you did when you took up time with him.
Yeah, and I gave him his life back by just changing his lifestyle. And that's all it takes. You got to understand, we were an outdoor generation of human beings.
Yes.
65,000, 30,000. There was no indoor lighting then. We were from nature. We actually spent all our time outdoors, and it wasn't until the agricultural industrial civilization and this society that created housing and roofs and all that we started living more indoors. And now as a generation we're totally indoor,
Yes,
so we
most
don't have
definitely.
the natural light that this is so important for our circadian function, which is the clock. The circadian clock works on the light aspects of our body. So I tell everybody that I see now, give me at least 12 hours of light, meaning indoor light, outdoor light, whatever you can. But I want
Yes.
you to give me a minimum of 12 to 14 hours every day. And when the sun goes down, you don't need light anymore.
Yes. You need to be falling asleep a few hours later
You need to fall asleep right away as soon as the sun goes
when the
down.
sun goes down. Okay.
And I tell people to wear orange glasses at night for 2 to 4 hours a day, so you're bringing that nature back, and you're bringing back the function of melatonin naturally rather than taking it orally, because the natural effects of melatonin is developed from the sunlight that we get during the day, and
Right.
and we need to bring that back.
I had purchased some sunglasses and they kind of had an orange tinge to them. And they were just so nice. I loved them. But every time I would put them on driving, I was getting sleepy. So now I know, I found out then that's what it was. I would get
Yeah.
very, very sleepy. For a couple of minutes before we close out, we have a few minutes left, just a few. We had not seen each other for a good while. And we were both part of this wonderful group and team of people that just came back from Japan. I don't know for you, but for me, it was just absolutely wonderful. What was your experience?
Well, getting to Japan was nice. It's just the factor that took the flight and the transportation to our hotel, which took forever.
What about being
Uh,
there? I know.
Being there, you know what the enjoyment was? Meeting people like yourself and other people in the same realm of health that had the same desire for
Yes.
health. Meeting different people from different sectors of the world and from the US I think was the best. And and mingling and taking the tour together was fun. And also having breakfast, lunch, and dinner together and talking and sitting down and learning about each other and who we are was just incredible for me.
It was for myself as well. It was absolutely wonderful. And the 2-day tour, we were there for several days. That 2-day tour was just absolutely wonderful. So I want to say that it was great. And I just want to let people know, you want to know what collagen is. But most important, you want to know, how are you getting enough collagen in your body? Don't wait until you have bone-on-bone disease or you have all these other conditions before start taking it. Let's try to do some preventative. If you don't have any health challenges right now, let's try to do some preventative measures to keep you healthy and with longevity and have the best quality life as possible. I think that's very important, to have the best quality. And if you do have some health challenges, let's get started now. Let's get started now. Don't wait until it escalates into something more. So if you're taking medications for a reason, there are certain supplements that are not any, you don't have any counter interactions with the medication, but you should always consult with a professional. I don't say that you should just go out and start buying these things. You want to consult with someone, which is very important. And I just thank you, Dr. Friedlander, for you have a plethora of information, and you will be back again. Thank you. I know you will. Thank you for accepting.
And thank you for having me. I enjoyed it. Enjoyed you and always our presence together is always fun, and I love that.
Wonderful. And you're outdoors, aren't you?
I'm outdoors right now. Yes.
Yeah, I could tell. Is it
Yeah.
windy? Things were kind
No,
of moving.
it's very warm actually. It's up in the Bay Area. It's just pleasant. I had to find a shady place
Yeah,
to sit down.
it looks
Yeah.
beautiful. It seemed like it was a little
It's
windy
a
or something.
club. It's a bay club that I work out every morning. I do my routine, and I train with a couple people that love to train with me. So, at 70, I still feel like my 30s and 40s, and actually I feel younger than that. And I
Okay.
still do things that nobody else can do. But that's because of my lifestyle that I've developed from the early 70s,
Right.
and I continue that.
And we're going to have another, I'm going to bring you on again and we're going to get more into epigenetics.
Yeah.
We didn't go into epigenetics for this show and the telomeres, which I have discussed before, but epigenetics, I had the cell well-being machine, and we were doing epigenetic screening, and some of the proteins will come up in your epigenetic testing as well, which is a hair analysis, and something that we actually offer at NuWellness Healthcare, which is phenomenal. So we do quite a few things there that I like to say at NuWellness. So we include what's needed so we can really assess a person's overall well-being. But most important is really getting a good history and listening to that patient. Take a good history and a physical. The history is really listening. You'll find a lot of information just listening to your patients. And I'm so glad that this is the type person you are. This is why you are where you are today, because you take time with your patients. Matter of fact, you had a hospital visit the other day when I called you. So
Right.
you do a lot of concierge services like I
Yes,
do. What a
yes.
nice name, concierge. We've been making house visits forever.
Now, also, I want to mention if the products you showed on. I didn't even realize you're going to show them, but we're on Amazon. So if anybody wants to get those particular products, they're available, and also through the physician who carries our products. We work with a lot of physicians.
Yes, and we are back carrying your products as of today. But
All
yes,
right.
we have your products too at New Wellness Healthcare. So I'm very grateful is redesigning my website. So I will be, discussing that with you. But I'm just really happy that that I know you and that I know that you are a person of integrity. This is why a person asked me prior to the show, well, they have their own. How do you know it has this and that? I said, because number one, Dr. Friedlander has integrity. He doesn't just do things for money. And that's what's important to me. There's so many things out there in the market, but when a person has do the research and they due diligence to find out exactly what's in that product, so they know what they're giving people, and you give the best grade, the best quality, and a lot of things on the shelf, they don't have our best interest at heart. So when you want to get something, like I said, always check with a practitioner. Do what you need to do to check to see, what's in it. But if you're dealing with a practitioner who has your best interest at heart and is not money driven and is driven because of the well-being of the person, then you should go with that person to make sure that you're getting the best quality product for your health. There's a lot of B vitamins on the market. There's a lot of D vitamins on the market, but you want the best. Some will give you some benefit, but you want optimum benefit. If you're going to spend your hard money on products, you want the best that you can find. And I want to thank you again. We're about to close the show. Dr. Friedlander, we will have you in again. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
So don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. So as we close out the show, there's something that I always say, and I don't have my little button on today, but repeat after me. I am so grateful
so grateful
that I am
a
a magnet
magnet
for miracles.
for miracles.
So put that in your daily beginning morning and hug yourself every morning and tell yourself, I love you. Have a wonderful, blessed day.
Join us every Wednesday live at 11 a.m. for New Wellness TV with Dr. Lee. Remember, healthy mind, healthy body.